we're going to switch over to our next guest. We have Kevin here, Kevin Doherty, and he's the executive director of Safe Incorporated of Schenectady. And I've heard about them, and I wanted to contact them to come on the show. And I don't know, sometimes things kind of slip by, but I have them here now.
Mm-hmm.
Great, yeah. So tell me, Kevin, Safe Incorporated, you work with homeless, you look at exploited.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more.
Yep. So Safe Inc of Schenectady has been in Schenectady for 40 years.
40 years?
40 years, yeah.
Wow.
And we aim to prevent and end homelessness and trafficking for youth and adults. So we have...
you say adults too?
Yep, yeah, some of our programs are for adults. So we have a few programs. Some are for youth and young adults, some are for adults.
But you said trafficking. Do they...
Yes.
Are adults trafficked?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
So we operate a shelter for 16 to 20-year-olds here in Schenectady. We served 120 youth last year between the ages of 16 and 20.
There are 120 youth that need your help.
Correct. And there's actually more than that. But they would prefer to, if they're not staying at home, they would prefer to couch surf. And go from house to house and stay with their friends.
Find a friend, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to going to an environment where they
more
feel
structure.
Where there's more structure, right? So that's our Dolores McIntosh house, and so we also have a street outreach program where we have staff who go out in the evenings and the afternoons to meet youth where they congregate to find out what kinds of needs they have, to hook them up with sources in the community, to help them stay at home, to help them get a job, to help them not live the street life. Last year we actually had 500 individual contacts with kids on the street, and some of them end up coming to Safe, for a period of time.
It breaks my heart to hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
because where do these young people, what drives them? I know I've had kids and they get mad at me but they don't run away.
Right.
But the point is, what do you see as a theme, a string through this?
So I think the biggest theme is there's something going on with the family that's usually related to poverty. So the family's feeling pressures, the family's feeling insecure, there may be substance abuse in the family. There are other things that make the youth feel unsafe.
And they
So
feel
they're
safer on the street than they do.
Sometimes people feel safer on the street than they do at home, because it provides them with a level of control that perhaps they're not feeling in other parts of their lives. And so we work with them, and we try to make sure they're going to school, that they're getting their education, that they're getting some kind of employability, or if they need to stay somewhere for a period of time, they can come and stay with us.
Yeah.
And then we will, when they leave, they'll have somewhere to go. We never discharge anybody back to homelessness. They oftentimes go back home. We help to reunify them with the family, or if they're 18, 19, or 20 and they need a place to stay, we help them to find an apartment and work. And
So you're really the skeleton of all this, kind of keeping things in order.
yes, trying to, yeah.
Yeah.
And in addition, we also have an anti-trafficking program.
I want to know more about that,
Yeah.
because we hear about it, and usually you say, well, people are kidnapped or something, or I don't know how but usually it's drug use that will get them into some of those situations where they're being controlled, and then
Right.
So, but do you see that in this area?
Yeah.
You
yeah,
do?
Yeah,
Okay.
and more often than not, it's not that people are being kidnapped, it's that people are being controlled
That's
and
what I said,
manipulated
control, yeah.
by people who are close to them. It's often a romantic partner, some other family member, a close friend who is able to take a vulnerable person and control and manipulate them in such a way that they will do things for a place to stay, for an income, for
drugs sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it seems to me, from what I've heard, a lot of times you get them kind of hooked on something so that you've got them grabbed.
Yeah, but it's usually some type of control and manipulation outside.
Emotionally.
Emotionally. Yeah.
Okay.
And they feel the need that they have to do this for survival. So we actually serve a 7-county area around Schenectady. We're funded by a grant from New York State. and we serve a 7-county area. And we have 3 case managers who provide intensive case management services to folks who are, trying to get out of that lifestyle and trying to find an apartment, find mental health, find a job, and be able to make that next move in their lives. Many of them have kids. Sometimes they have kids by the person who is trafficking.
Yeah, okay.
So there's a whole, connection.
That is manipulative.
Right,
Yeah.
that is manipulative, and it's hard to break free of that if you have a child in town, because
Exactly.
you want to take care of yourself and your child.
All right. Now, my big question is, where do you get your funding?
We get funding from a variety of sources. We get some federal funding, we get some state funding, we get county funding, and then we get some private donors.
Okay.
And what we're looking to do next is we're looking to provide transitional living for 18 to 24-year-olds in Schenectady for 18 to 24 months, so that we can, it's a period of time where a kid, needs some supports and some services.
And know that somebody cares.
And know that somebody cares. So we'd like to find sites and build some more apartments or studios, and they can stay there for 18 to 24 months, finish their education, get some employment training, maybe get a car, and really help them to make that transition into the next step in their lives. And they have this, solid foundation upon which they can build their home.
Do you have a large staff, or do you have volunteers? How does that work? Because someone might be watching right now that thinks it would be able to help you.
Yeah. We don't have a lot of staff. We have between 15 and 20 staff, and I say...
Well, if you have a house, you've got to...
Right, we have to staff it.
Yeah.
And I say between 15 and 20 because we have part-timers. We have residential staff. We have case managers, and we have street outreach workers. And then we have 2 administrators, myself, and an executive assistant operations manager, and that's our staff.
How do you get the word out to young people? I mean, I know that you're going out there, but is there like an underground of conversation going on with young people, or is that, I don't know. How are you getting your word out is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so we're doing it with outreach and with education and things like this. And so we're trying to get the word out to the greater community, as well as establishing relationship with youth who need the services, because they're hanging out with other youth who need the services. So there's the whole word of mouth. And we're also working with schools to try to help them to provide some services.
So you do work
to
with
folks.
schools as
Yes.
well?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure teachers might kind of hone in on that there's someone needs a little bit of help.
Yeah, and Schenectady, there was an article that the Schenectady schools had. The definition of homelessness is if they were housing insecure for one night, meaning they stayed with a friend or whatever. And there were 700 kids last academic year in the Schenectady schools. So, that's...
I'm astonished.
Yeah.
I am astonished at these numbers. That, I mean, granted, you might get mad at your parents and will stay at somebody's house for a night, but
Correct.
that doesn't mean you're homeless.
Right. It's housing insecure. It's not called homeless, but it's housing insecure. But that points to that
we
there
aren't
may
using
be...
the words homeless anymore.
No, we are, but in this case, it's that, that there is something going on at home that makes them feel the need to perhaps stay somewhere else. And sometimes they're staying with their own family who lost their apartment, so.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That you do run into that.
Yeah.
With people, they need their house back or something, and so they evict them or something.
Yeah.
Or they can't pay their rent.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. So I know that you encourage them to stay in school.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, how about advanced education, or not even advanced? I think trades are really good.
Absolutely.
And they make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you get your money going from the get-go.
Yeah.
You don't have to send out a million
Correct.
resumes and hope that somebody will take you with a BA in English or something,
Yeah. Yes, so there are some local organizations like the Seat Center here in Schenectady that provides employment training, and we refer a lot of our youth there. And then there's the Job Corps that many of our youth also access when they, as part of their transition from our shelter. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of employability groups out there.
that help with that kind of thing.
Good. Now, you're a 501c3?
We're 501c3.
So if
Yep.
someone wanted to send a donation to you or
Yeah.
learn how to volunteer, how do they contact you?
They can either call us at 518-374-0166, or they can go on our website where they can donate directly through the
And
website.
they can contact you through your website as
And they
well?
can contact us through the website.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an email address on our website.
Well, I hope that you get some volunteers and people that are, I got a bug here somewhere. I'm sorry, not you.
Yeah.
But I hope that someone will, step up and do something. If you've raised your own kids and you know that sometimes it's difficult to raise them, maybe you'd like to volunteer to help another one along the way,
Yep,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, and what's your background, Kevin?
My background is I've done programs in human services for
Okay.
30 years. I've done public finance. I'm not a social worker.
Yeah.
I'm more
Well, you
like
don't
a,
have to be if you've got the good people
correct,
around you, yeah.
Right.
They
So
can do that.
I'm more like a
Administrator.
an administrator.
Yeah,
Yep.
good. Thank you for what you do and for helping the youth, because if we don't help them, they're just lost into adulthood. So
That's
thank you
correct.
so much for what you do. I really good.
Thank you.